I fully support this motion, and I'm delighted to speak on the motion on fuel poverty this morning. It's particularly relevant to the region I come from, the Midlands, that government don't seem to know about or care about, and that's the truth, and that's certainly what's coming through from constituents to my offices. If we want to talk about poverty, then sooner rather than later, this government needs to get real, and they need to demand a total and complete reassessment of the so-called just transition process, which in my mind is a grave injustice to the people of the Midlands. This process is on the verge of driving hundreds of Bord na Móna workers into unemployment, and up to 17,000 people in our horticulture sector also into unemployment. And this is because of the harebrained ideas that this government is standing over and willing to support, to the detriment of people in the Midlands who are on their knees. The Midlands is a region that has always suffered inequality. It's a region that has the second lowest rate of disposable income in this state, and yet you're not waking up and seeing the realities, the harsh realities and the struggles of people, and the struggles of workers and the struggles of communities who are being left behind. We have no alternative jobs, we have no alternative fuel, and it is absolutely ridiculous to have such an injustice imposed on people, and that's what it is. This could be done in a much gradual way when we'd have an alternative fuel. And in my opinion, this reassessment should be carried out by government, but it should involve Bord na Móna going back to the drawing board and reapplying for a licence to recommence peat harvesting. We are all of the view we were all of the view, indeed the workers were of the view, that they had until 2030. These are people with mortgages. These are people with food to put on the table. These are real people who are being sacrificed because of so-called government policies. But do you realise that this country only accounts for 0.1% of the world's emissions, and yet you expect the Midlands to save the planet? And that's the ideology here. It's absolutely crazy. And these workers, I want to make it very clear, they're being let go out of jobs in the middle of a global pandemic. And there's no empathy for them. As I have said before in this chamber, the workers, the enterprises and the communities are left behind. There needs to be alternative employment and an alternative fuel. I'm calling on all Midlands TDs here today to put their money where their mouth is. Otherwise, their statements here will ring hollow. There needs to be a reassessment, an urgent reassessment of the just transition process. I have to say, I find it absolutely ironic that those people who will lose their jobs as a result of the decision made by Bord na Móna will not be able to access the fuel allowance until they are in receipt of job seekers' payment for over 15 months. It's also unacceptable that people in receipt of the PUP payment can't accept the fuel allowance. This is a complete inability to enter into the experiences of people that have little income and must worry about how they're going to heat their homes. I support the ICTO review of a national policy review on energy, but I also want to say it's an insult to the people of Offaly who are now going into shops, workers and families of workers.
Thank you, Deputy. Thank you, Deputy. I'm going to go to your colleague.